Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's Amicus Deuce Johan coming at you from Harmonic Studios, and today we'll be discussing the diatonic scale. This video is a continuation of my beginner piano tutorial series and also a continuation of my previous video which I titled Understanding the Piano Keyboard in 9 minutes. So if you haven't watched that video, sure try to check it out first if you need to. The link to the video is what is showing on the top right corner of your screen right now. I'll also leave the link at the description box below in case you would like to check it later after this tutorial. We will now begin our discussion of today. So firstly, what's the piano scale? Piano scale, I can say, are basically different group of selected keys of the piano. Different groups of selected keys of the piano. And it is from this different group of selected keys, chords and melodies, which are of course the bread and butter of music, are being derived from. There are different types of scales in music that can be played on the piano, but today we'll be discussing about the most important and fundamental scale of all scales, which is of course the diatonic scale. Before we discuss about the diatonic scale, we will first have to discuss two important concepts, which are number 1, steps, and number 2, scale formulas. So let's quickly treat them. A step, as you might probably guess from the name, is basically the movement from one musical note to another. On the keyboard, we say the movement between one key to another. On the piano keyboard, we have two types of steps: half step and whole step. Half step is basically moving from a key to another key closest to it, either when moving upward or downward along the keyboard. While whole step, on the other hand, is basically moving from a key to another key second closest to it, also either when moving upward or downward along the keyboard. We can also say that a whole step equals 2 half steps. So picking any key from the keyboard, let's say middle C, if we want to move a half step upward, that is moving from C to the next closest key when moving upward, that will be what? C sharp or D flat. In the same way, if we want to move from C a half step downward, that is moving to the next closest key when moving downward, then that key will be what? B. Same concept goes to every other key. For example, let's say a black key now. Let's pick E flat. If we want to move a whole step upward, that is moving from E flat to the second closest key when moving upward, then that will be what? F. In the same way, if we want to move from the same E flat a whole step downward, that is moving to the second closest key when moving downward from E flat, then that key will be what? D flat or C sharp. We use these two types of steps earlier discussed to create what we call a scale formula. And a scale formula is a kind of formula we use to derive different types of scales. This scale formulas uses two letters, W and H, to denote whole step and half step, respectively. Showing on the screen right now is the scale formula for the diatonic scale, which we'll be using today. We will now move on to discussing the diatonic scale itself. Note, another name for the diatonic scale is the major scale. The diatonic scale or the major scale, like any other scale, can be built starting from any key on the keyboard. And since we have 12 keys on the keyboard, that means we have 12 diatonic scale. We usually name any of the 12 keys we'll be building any scale from the root key. We will now derive the C diatonic scale using the scale formula I showed you earlier. That is, our root key this time will be what? C. While using the scale formula to derive these scales, the letter R represents the root note, the letter W represents the whole step movement, and the letter H represents the half step movement. For us to get the set of keys that will make the C major scale, for example, we will have to follow this formula in ascending order. So firstly we have R, the root note, which is C. So moving up, we have the letter W. This is telling us to move a whole step up to get our next key for the scale. And as earlier said, moving a whole step is moving from one key to another key second closest to it. And in ascending order, this key will be what? D. Still moving up, again we have the what? The letter W, which means we should move a whole step also. So the resulting key will be what? E. Then we have the letter H, which denotes half step, which as earlier discussed means moving from one key to another key closest to it. And in ascending order, this key will be what? You guessed right, key F. Quickly moving on, we have the letter W again, and this takes us to G. Another letter W, which takes us to what? A. And another letter W, which takes us to what? B. Then finally, the letter H, which takes us back to C, which is the initial root note, but this time an octave higher than the former. And this can move higher. So there you have it, the C major scale. Having used C as an example, let's quickly derive the diatonic scale for another key. But this time, let's use a black key. So let's say D flat, or you can also say C sharp. So quickly we have the root, a whole step, another whole step, a half step, a whole step, another whole step, another whole step, and finally a half step. So we have and this can move higher. So there you have it, the D flat major scale or the D flat diatonic scale. If we want to go through all the rest of the 12 keys, then this video will be much longer than expected. So to avoid that, I've made this chart which shows the diatonic scale for all the 12 keys of the piano and how they are being derived. I'll leave the download link on the description box below. Of course it's free, so please go download it. The key way to understanding the major scale is to try building it up yourself on all the 12 keys and practicing them until they become a second nature, in the sense that you can just approach any piano keyboard and play them all like this. So guys, That's all you pretty much need to understand the musical scales in general and also the diatonic scale, which is the most important of them all, which of course we have discussed today. So if you love this content, please kindly like and leave a comment at the comment box below. If you are new to the channel and you want to see more contents like this from us, please click the subscription button below and don't forget to hit the notification bell to get notified directly anytime we make an update. So that'll be all for now, guys. See you soon. Thanks for watching.